Foul-mouthed, short-tempered, violent, gangster. Tommy DeVito is all of the above. Joe Pesci, probably his best performance. I mean, just don't make him mad. I mean, you'll be fine.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Yeah, Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you know, you're funny.
You mean,
So?
well, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Number 39. Violent, check. Rapist, check. Sociopath, check. And the ending of the movie is widely debated by everybody who's seen it. Some people think he was cured. Some people think he was faking it. I am with the group that thinks he was faking it, because at the end of the movie he just turned back into his deadpan look that he had at the beginning of the movie. So I'm thinking that he was faking it just to escape, and once he escaped, he went back to his ways. Number 38.
Son of a bitch. You son of a bitch!
One of the newest villains who made it on this list, and to be a good villain for me, I have to be able to understand their motive, and Koba has about as realistic a motive than all the others on this list. He was tortured for a long time for scientific purposes, and when the apes escaped, finally, Koba despised every single human he came into contact with. Koba has represented, to me, he represented like an abused dog, who, when they're rescued from an abusive owner and taken to like an animal shelter or something, and they take a long time to warm up to humans again. That's how I look at Koba, because I've seen videos where there's an abused dog, or mainly a dog, but they get into like these animal shelters, and the people at the animal shelters try to, bring them back into for lack of a better word, just like being nice and like, being a good dog, that kind of thing. And when they start out, the dogs bite and attack and all that kind of stuff. That's how I look at Koba, as like an abused monkey in this case.
Apes win war! Apes together strong! Caesar weak. Koba weaker.
Number 37. Regan MacNeil, or more or less the demon that possessed her, Pazuzu, I believe is how you say the demon's name. But once Regan played with a Ouija board, she went from being a regular 12-year-old girl to a demon-possessed, quote-unquote, girl. She said a lot and did a lot of things that no normal kid would do at that time period. The crucifix, the spider walk, the head turning, just to name a few. And let that be a lesson to you kids out there. Never play with the Ouija board, or this will happen to you. Number 36.
In '87, Huey released this, 4, their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Be Square. A song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends, it's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul!
The main thing I like about Patrick Bateman is the possibility that none of the events that happened in the movie actually happened. Some people say that it was all in his head in the wonderful world of
imagination.
And the way the movie plays out, it certainly is possible that that's where the director was going with it, and he definitely lives up to the title of the movie. Number 35. The cross-dressing, freaky serial killer from The Silence of the Lambs. His goal is essentially to carve the skin off of women to build him a new skin to live in. Just that one scene where he's putting on makeup and dancing in front of the camera makes me uncomfortable. Really, the only part of the movie where I just look away. I can't really say that for any other villain on this list where I've actually looked away from the movie. Number 34. Drug lord, an abusive murderer, and he stole a man's wife. Al Pacino's great performance as the violent sociopath. With all that, I honestly don't know how people say he's an anti-hero. Maybe because the movie is centered around him and he's like the lead, but he's a villain. With all he did, he's not an anti-hero. He's not a good guy. He's a straight up villain. He killed a guy that was treating his sister good, but he didn't want to have anybody date his sister. That's how deluded that's how. Oh man, yeah. Tony Montana is a straight up villain. No question about it.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Number 33. The colonel who decides to take matters into his own hands during the Vietnam War. His weapon was fear, and he ended up as a godlike person for his little cult. And I don't want to spoil the movie's ending, but the fact that he is one of the few villains to actually win just adds to his credibility, not only as a villain but as a character, in my opinion. Number 32.
Filthy little hobbitses! They stole it from us! No!
What did they steal?
Precious!
In my opinion, Gollum is a better villain than Sauron is. Half of them doesn't want to do the evil things that he does, but the other half, the Gollum side, is the true villain. And the longer the movies progress, the more Gollum corrupts Smeagol. He comes closer to killing Frodo than anyone else did when he sent Frodo into Shelob's lair. He was responsible for putting a major strain on Sam and Frodo's friendship. Great villain performance by the master of CGI roles, Andy Serkis.
Stupid fat hobbit! It ruins it!
Even you couldn't say no to that.
Oh, yes we could. Spoiling nice fish. Give it to us raw and wriggling. You keep nasty chips.
You're hopeless.
Number 31. He is my favorite horror movie villain. He is, in my opinion, the most deadly horror slasher because of the fact that you can't escape him. Once you fall asleep, you're done. You might as well say your prayers before you go to sleep because you're not waking up. There's no way out of Freddy Krueger's attack. Jesus, if he sets his sights on you, you're history.